Okay. Hi there, everybody. At least today I've got a camera and I can see myself, which is more than I had last week. I mean, we all have bad days, bad weeks, whatever. I must be having my memorable spring. Things have been going interesting for me this particular series of months. For those of you who well, maybe I don't know, maybe you can't see, but I'm wearing glasses, which are driving me bananas. Um, Contact lens broke. And they have to be, I can't get the simple things that I just go in and buy the simple ones and pop them in. They have to be special ordered, and these are just driving me bananas. Partially because I'm used to the contacts on the eyeball and versus the glasses and everything else like that. But anyway, so it makes me look like I'm a little old lady, which I am a little old lady, so let's just bear with me and go on with that. So let me ignore that. But if you hadn't noticed I wasn't wearing glasses, good. Let me know. I'm so conscious of them. It's like I think everybody sees them, and maybe you don't. Anyway, today I was looking at a quote from Jim Collins. Good is the enemy of great. Uh, that somewhat seems obvious in some respects, but he wrote a book about that. Good is the enemy of great, in which what he was doing was talking about how some companies, basically what he was doing is he was investigating and did research on major companies and took a look at what companies managed to get out and get to be fantastic and great, marvelous, wonderful, versus those who managed to, they were stable, but they never seemed to break into any of the hierarchy of the better companies kinds of things. And so what he was finding is that when they took the idea that we are good at what we do and we stay at what we are good at, that tends to be good. You stay basically stable at that because you're doing what you know you can do. The companies, on the other hand, that turned to be out to be great or created themselves to be great were those that, in a sense, pushed the envelope and tried to find something really specific that they could become great at, or they worked harder at one specific thing than trying to stay good at the whole level. So, does that make sense? If you see where we're coming from? And he discovered that many of the companies that we really know, like Nike or anything else like that, basically went to the extremes, if you want to say that they went to extremes. But what they did is they focused on one thing that they could pretty much do better than nobody else. And that was the whole concept of where it was coming from. When I'm thinking about this, as far as most people, I think when people come to the idea that they say that they're doing well enough and they don't want to take out the extra time to do something and be great, which essentially is what the companies were doing. On the other hand, there is the concept of perfection. And if people try to be great in everything, I think that that's just as much of a problem as just staying good. In other words, not trying to be great. So I think it's when people take a look at what they're doing, and sometimes I think people misunderstand or really don't think through those items that they do well versus the items that they could do better, and they make decisions about what they're going to do. For example, you may take the idea, again, because I'm a teacher, let me look at school. If you're trying to do a paper, are you going to decide that the paper is just good enough and you don't have the time and you don't have the energy to make it a great paper? But on the other hand, you may spend a lot of time to try and do something else perfectly in another respect of your life, which may not necessarily have the same consequences or the same impact as the paper will. Maybe not. Maybe the thing that you're trying to be perfect at, say if you're an athlete, being perfect at something might get you to be the Olympics. The thing about it is when you get to a point of being great at something, let's say the Olympics, because I've read something a few months ago that once people got into the Olympics and they managed to get their medals, then what happens? They pretty much had nothing to go for them. And some of them got suicidal, actually, and got seriously depressed because basically they had nothing else to go for in their lives. They had put everything into their lives to get to that point for the Olympics or whatever they were looking for. I'll just say the Olympics for this. And then once they got it, it's then, okay, now what? And so they didn't develop anything good, if you will, in any other aspect that they could, shall we say, fall back on, that they could start working on. They got so great at one thing that they didn't have anything else to look forward to in their life. And it was really, really difficult to make that kind of adjustment. In fact, some people actually committed suicide because they didn't have anything else. And they somewhat felt, apparently, at least, shall we say, the emotional psychological postmortem was that they realized that they didn't have anything else to live for, so to speak, or that's the way they felt. And so they basically said, why should we live? And gave up. So I don't know that we, as most of us who aren't going in being fantastic and doing something like getting into the Olympics or the Super Bowl or whatever, you're going to aim for, but we look for things that we're going to work on to be really, really great at. And we don't necessarily pay attention to what we're good at, because sometimes it's what we're good at that keeps us going on a daily basis. And on the other hand, maybe we're taking a look at everything and say, okay, this is good enough, and I don't need to be great. So the point to this whole thing, even though it may seem like I'm rambling, is have you thought about what do you want to be good at and what do you want to be great at? And do you want to be great at anything? And that could be good, that could be bad. It's totally up to you. It's your choice. My question is have you actually thought about it and given yourself some ideas about what you would prefer? If you're going to be content being good, okay. If you want to be great at something, have you given any thought about what that thing is that you want to be great at and work on that? Or are you just working on the good elements and not trying to do anything to be great? Now, I'm getting the idea that maybe I'm sort of rambling, which it could very well be. But what I'm basically, in a nutshell, trying to say is when you're doing things, do you know what you want to be good at? Do you know what you want to be great at? If you want to be great, what is the thing that you could be great at? What can you do or what can you work on doing that's going to get you to be better than anybody else? That's a question only you can answer. And it may be something relatively personal to you. Maybe you just want to be a great parent, for example, and you really don't care if you're great at work, so to speak. Maybe at work you just want to be good enough. Maybe you want to be great at work. It's kind of up to you. So my thought for you today was really just to think in terms of, are you good at something and you want to stay there? Do you want to become great? And if you want to become great, what is it that you need to focus on to do that, to get to that specific point? Do you have specific goals or things that you need to do to be able to get to be great? Or are you just going to be content in being good? Because remember, as Jim Collins said, good is the enemy of great. You can't be great if you're willing to accept good. Okay? So I hope all of this, I hope you're still here. I guess this makes it a real hard time for me to concentrate on anything because I'm conscious of the glasses and everything else like that. But hopefully it made sense and it wasn't too totally rambling today. Let me know if I totally went off on a deep end or some such thing like that. And we'll just, hopefully this made sense. And hopefully I'll have my contacts and we'll be back to normal next week. But we will see you later. Have a good day and a good week. Bye.